Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. LoFi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. Licensed lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island Licensed Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I am Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio and NFL free agency. I know the league year doesn't officially start till 4 o'clock today, but it pretty much feels like free agency is over. The only thing we're really waiting for is where is Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson going to play? That's really the only thing we're waiting for right now. Where are those two guys going to play? So, and it's really for Aaron Rodgers, it's down to the Steelers and the Giants. It's pretty obvious, it's down to one of those two teams. It's pretty much up for him to make his decision. And the question really is what's a better fit? Is it the Steelers or the Giants? And it's obvious that it's the Steelers. I mean, if you look at what they did on Sunday, they traded for DK Metcalf. They already got George Pickens. They got a really good defense. One of the top coaches in the league. I know they let Najee Harris walk, but they did get Kenneth Gainwell to pair him with Warren and Gainwell in the running game. So I definitely think it's pretty obvious that it is the Pittsburgh Steelers that is the better fit for him. Because if you look at the Giants, I mean, they have a head coach and a GM that should have been fired. I know there are some, there is Malik Neighbors, there is Dexter Lawrence, Andrew Thomas, and they've done pretty well in free agency so far, getting Paulson Adebo, getting Javon Holland. They've done pretty well in free agency, addressing their secondary so far. I'll give Joe Shane credit for that. I mean, he made the disastrous decision with Saquon last year, but I'll give him credit for what he's done in free agency so far. But it's pretty obvious right now it's the Pittsburgh Steelers because the Giants are not a quarterback away right now from competing for a championship. The Steelers, they are a quarterback away, even though I don't think even if Rodgers goes to the Steelers, I still don't think they're a Super Bowl contender. And I don't even think they make the playoffs, but the Steelers are definitely closer to the Giants. That's why I definitely think it's the Steelers.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Steelers make the most sense. They're closer, obviously, than the Giants are at this moment. You're probably getting about, obviously Russell Wilson only played about half the games last year, so you're probably, so that would mean, I think Russell had 16 touchdowns, 5 INTs, so maybe you're getting Rodgers close to 30 touchdowns, maybe 7, 8 interceptions, so which isn't bad. It's probably maybe a slight upgrade from Russell Wilson, but it's probably not. It's probably a little bit of a slighter upgrade, but not much more than that. So yeah, Rodgers seems like the best fit, but it is a tough division. A lot of good quarterbacks in that conference. So still don't think Aaron Rodgers can outdo those guys at this point, but it is still Aaron Rodgers and the Pickens, DK Metcalf. Will both those guys be happy week 10 if one of them's not getting the targets they want? It might be hard to keep both those guys happy.
Yeah. Listen. I mean, is the Steelers a great option for Aaron Rodgers? No, but it's the option that's out there. It's the option it's out there, and their roster is good enough to get and their roster is good enough for them to compete for a chance. They're good enough to compete. If Rodgers plays not like he did last year, but plays maybe like he did his second I don't think he's capable of being an MVP, but maybe this last year in Green Bay, maybe they can make a run. But seeing what I saw last year, even though Aaron Rodgers is there. From what I saw last year, I don't think Rodgers is good enough to make the Steelers team even close to as good as the Ravens are. Could they be better than the Bengals? Yes, because of seeing what's going on with the Bengals, seeing the fact their defense could be absolutely terrible. And the Steelers were better than the Bengals last year with Russell Wilson as their quarterback, who I think is maybe a little bit worse than Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, I don't think this, even if the Steelers get Rodgers, I still don't think they're close. I still don't think they're close to the Bengals. I don't think they're as good as the Broncos or the Chargers. I think they're clearly like the 7th, maybe 8th best team in the AFC.
Yeah, because they don't get if they wouldn't get Rodgers, and then who would be the quarterback for that team? Trying to figure that out, or they probably the defense would keep him in it. Oh yeah, they'll get Rodgers. Yeah, Wilson. So you're probably not getting any much better. You're probably sticking in the same spot you were last year, and you're probably a playoff team, but then you're probably going to lose in the divisional round more than likely. So yeah, it's a tough conference to break into, and I don't at Rodgers' age, I just he could still move a little bit, but it's not like he once was. I know the Steelers' offensive line was a bit better last year, but it's not the same guy. So I don't see him going to Arrowhead and being able to do Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or one of the obviously he went a shootout against the Burrow because the Bengals defense is so bad. But I just again it is still Aaron Rodgers, so I guess you can't count him out. But in this conference, I think it's gonna be tough. If the Steelers in the NFC, I would like them a lot better.
Yeah, yes, because the NFC isn't as deep as the AFC, but still, even say they were in the NFC, they wouldn't be as good as the Eagles, they wouldn't be as good as the Rams, they wouldn't be as good as the Lions, they wouldn't be as good as the Commanders. I mean, because right now Rodgers, let's be honest, he had 28 touchdowns, 11 picks last year, but he's not a top 15 quarterback anymore. He's top 20, but not top 15. And the Jets had he had the ball 6 times last year to win the game for the Jets. And only one of those times he won it, and that one was against Jacksonville. The Denver lost. They only put up 9 points. I know they missed the field goal, but they only put up 9 points in that game. We all remember the Minnesota game where he had Garrett Wilson wide open and he missed them. The Buffalo game where he threw a pick at the end of that game. We remember the New England game. He couldn't get it done. They know the defense couldn't get it done, but he couldn't get it done at the end there. And then the Seattle game was the same thing. And in that game, he threw a pick 6 when they were up 21-7. So he's not a top 15 quarterback anymore. He's a top 20 quarterback. He's right now he's an above average to average quarterback. He's a shell of what he once was. And yeah, even if he goes to the Steelers, I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender. I maybe think they could sneak into the playoffs, but I think it'll be more of the same for them. They'll get into the playoffs and lose in the first round.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I know, like they fired Saul and all that, and the defense took a step back for the Jets, but like Zach Wilson won 7. Zach Wilson won 7 games. A year ago. Like they kind of took a step back this year, the Jets. I know there were different circumstances. That defense didn't play as well as it did last year, but still, it's not great. And I think I agree with you. I think the Pittsburgh would be an AFC divisional round. They get there, and I think they get knocked off, but probably the 2 seed, whoever that will be in January.
Yeah, exactly. So now we'll move on to the Giants, and this does connect to Rodgers as well. And right now, you look at the Giants' options at quarterback. I mean, option 1 is obviously Aaron Rodgers because they're pretty much right now in a bidding war with the Steelers to get Aaron Rodgers. Option 2 is Russell Wilson, and it looks like that'll be the option if the Giants if Rodgers signs with the Steelers. It looks like the Giants will get Russell Wilson. And then option 3, say somehow neither of them go there, would be to probably trade up for Cam Ward. Now, option 3 should be out because I don't think Cam Ward is worth trading up for. Now, what you could do is, depending on the price, you could, sign Rodgers or Wilson and also draft Cam Ward if he's there. Or what I think they're probably going to do is sign one of those guys, draft Travis Hunter, and then maybe take Jackson Dart in the second round. That's what I think they're probably going to do. And that's probably, to me, that's their best option. Their best option right now, I would say sign Aaron Rodgers and then draft the Jackson Dart in the second round. To me, that's the best option because Cam Ward, if you're at 3 and Tennessee wants a first round pick, there's no way you should be trading a first round pick for Cam Ward. No way. Now, with this regime, as I've said for the last couple of weeks, I wouldn't be shocked if they did it because they're desperate. And I don't trust this regime right now, seeing what's happened the last 2 years. crazy. I trusted him for a while, but last year I lost trust in this regime. So it wouldn't surprise me if they traded up for Cam Ward, signed Aaron Rodgers and traded a first round pick for Cam Ward. It wouldn't surprise me. But I think the best option for the Giants is it's close between Rodgers and Wilson, but I'll take Rodgers. Sign Rodgers, and then draft the Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroy in the second round. I think that's the best option right now for the Giants at quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think it would be probably at this point probably me Russell Wilson, which will probably be the best quarterback you've had the last couple of years. So it's going to be somewhat of upgrade. I know it's not probably the greatest upgrade in the world, but it'll be something. Um, but yeah, and then I would even maybe wait till next year. But I get maybe they're high on Dart. I don't think Jalen Milroe's an NFL starting quarterback. I just don't. I I haven't really seen him get much better over the years. I think he throws a great deep ball. I think like the intermediate throws, the short routes, he's still trying to work on. But I might wait till next year. But again, this regime, if they really like one of those guys, I could definitely see them moving, getting a Jackson Dart, or even if they're high on Jalen Milroe, trying to develop him into a starting NFL quarterback. But yeah, I think right now that's their best option because I do agree with you. I wouldn't trade up for Cam Ward. I wouldn't trade up for Sanders. But yeah, if they're really high on one of those guys, but I have to imagine you're in the final year. Um, obviously they have to probably get to at least playoffs, save their jobs next year. And if they don't, they're gone. But so maybe they try to get, so they're probably trying to get that veteran guy to hopefully kind of ride the ship, seal them some wins, and then hopefully it's enough for them to keep their job. But it's going to be pretty tough with that schedule.
It's going to be brutal. Let's just say it's going to be brutal for them to keep their job. But you're making a good point. This regime is going to do what's in the best interest of themselves. Now, what's in the best interest of themselves could be in the best interest of the team for this year because you'll win more games. Say somebody draft Cam Ward at 3 and you start him. You'll win more games this year if you start Rodgers or Wilson. Say you take Travis Hunter at 3 and you start Rodgers or Wilson. You'll probably win more games this year. And really, the thing is for Daboll and Shane, it's be competitive. Show improvement, win 7 or 8 games, be on the fringe of the playoffs, and then keep your job. Now, it's going to be brutal for them to do it, especially with Rodgers and Wilson, because I think both those quarterbacks are over the hill. Rodgers and Wilson are both over the hill right now. So, but it's the best option. It's the best option they have, the best chance for this regime, and it's probably the best thing for the organization because you don't want to be, trading up for like a Cam Ward, giving up a future pick, and then if he's not good, he sets your franchise backwards. So the best thing right now is just, and it sucks that they have the number 3 pick, and this is the best option. It sucks because last year if they had the 3 pick like the Patriots did, they would have taken a quarterback. But it sucks that there's really one guy that's really worth taking, and there's a good chance Tennessee or Cleveland is going to take him. So I think what you do is, like I said, you sign one of these 2 guys, and I prefer. It was hard for me to pick, but I prefer Rodgers over Wilson, and then sign draft Jackson Dart, draft Travis Hunter at number 3 or Abdul Carter, and see what you can see and see what you can do this year. But it's going to be very hard to compete with the Commanders or Eagles. But seeing what the Cowboys are doing in the offseason, you might have a chance to get into 3rd place. So I'd say sign Rodgers, draft Dart, draft Dart and Hunter and see what you can do.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's a tough spot for them right now and trying to figure out how to, with the quarterback spot, what they want to do. And yeah, I would say go 3 with Hunter with not a bad option. And then, hopefully, Wilson can steal you a game or 2. And, it's just tough to throw a rookie too in that set spot too with, the head coach and GM are probably both on the way out. He's going to have to learn a whole new different system next year, or do they even want him next year? So yeah, it would be a tough spot to throw Cam Ward in this year or Sanders. So yeah, I agree. I think it's Russell Wilson, and then I don't mind either going to Jackson Dart in the second round, and then but again, it comes down to next year. If that happens, do the GM or coach think that he's a franchise guy? So now maybe he gets a start or 2 at the end of the year and somebody's impressed by him, and maybe you could trade him to that new organization. Or the new guys, the new Giants guys don't like him, and another organization thinks that they could use him. So maybe you could use him for a trade maybe next year.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. It should be interesting. Aaron Rodgers is holding this whole thing up. He's making his decision. I've been funny. I apologize to the audience, to you in the audience, if I'm on my phone, but I'm checking Schefter's Twitter pretty much constantly to see if there's any sort of breaking news on this. And we're definitely going to update you if there's any breaking news, even if it's during the college basketball show. We'll update you if there's any breaking news on this quarterback situation. But yeah, it looks like Rodgers is the best option, but for the Giants. But my prediction here is, and I want to hear what your prediction is. I think that Rodgers is going to sign in Pittsburgh, and then Wilson is going to be the Giants, and Wilson will sign with the Giants.
Yeah, I agree with both those. Yeah, Rodgers, Pittsburgh, Russell to the Giants. So yeah, I'm on board with you there with those two quarterbacks are going to do here maybe the next couple hours.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. We'll see when Rodgers makes a decision. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit later on today because the league year begins, and he's a fit, and I think he might still be property of the Jets. Who knows? But like he'll officially be a free agent, so I think it happens later today. I think Rodgers becomes a Steeler, and then Wilson becomes a Giant. But we'll move on to a quarterback that was signed on Monday, and that was Sam Darnold. He was signed by the Seahawks. And here's the thing. Here's the thing about this signing. You're happy, he got 37 and a half. I felt like he got a little bit more than I thought, about 37 million. Here's the thing though. He is going to a worse team. He's going to a worse team because the Seahawks traded DK Metcalf. And if you had DK Metcalf, I think this team, I think with Darnold, because to me, it's an upgrade over Geno Smith. I think they might be able to, maybe get a playoff spot. But with this move, and this was the question, I posed, are the Seahawks a playoff team with Sam Darnold? I don't think so because really Jackson Smith-Njigba has not been a number one. And who are your number 2 and 3 receivers? Your offensive line is shaky. And last year, Kenneth Walker only averaged 3.7 yards per carry. The Seahawks did not run the ball that well last year. Their defense is okay. It got better with Ernest Jones, and they re-signed Ernest Jones, especially against the run, because I remember the Giants when they played in Week 5, Tyron Tracy ran all over them. But Ernest Jones, the defense got better in the second half of the year. The defense is okay. The defense is, average, above average, I would say, with Mike McDonald. But my concern with this team is the offensive line and the lack of depth at receiver, especially trading a DK Metcalf, because it's tough to replace a DK Metcalf. He's one of the top receivers in the league. So, I think this team. The question. I think they upgraded a quarterback, but the roster is worse. So the question I will say to answer the question, are they a playoff team with Sam Darnold? I'm going to say no. I think they still are going to be close, maybe 8, maybe 9 wins, because I think Darnold with good coaching and good guys around him is really good. I think this will kind of be a season where it's kind of in between what his seasons were with the Panthers and Jets. It won't be as great. It definitely won't be as great as it was last year, but I don't think it will be as bad as it was with the Panthers and Jets. I think it'll be somewhere in between where the Seahawks just missed the playoffs. So I'm not going to say they're a playoff team. But Justin, are the Seahawks a playoff team with Sam Darnold as their quarterback?
I think it possibly could be, but I have them right now, probably like that 9-8 with you, that like 8-9 win line right now. But I could see sneaking them into the wild card spot eventually, depending on how the rest of free agency goes. Yeah, you mentioned it because Jackson Smith-Njigba hasn't shown that he's like a true number one yet. Charbonnet had a decent year. Walker, I know, has kind of been banged up throughout, but kind of feels like maybe Seattle's going to try to be a little bit more run heavy next year. And because it's interesting. Like Jake Bobo right now would probably slide in their number 2, but he only had 13 catches on the year, 1 touchdown. Like he didn't have great production. So yeah, with Darnold, that defense, with some more improvements as well. So I think it's probably like an 8-9 win team. I'm interested to see what San Francisco does because it has not been a great offseason for them so far. But I could still see them sneaking in because I think there's going to be a couple of spots where you can kind of see like the 6 and 7 spot go to in the NFC wildcard picture. So I wouldn't totally rule them out, but at the moment I probably am the outside looking in.
Yeah, you look at teams that will probably definitely make the playoffs next year: Eagles, Commanders, Rams, Lions. I'm very, very confident that those 4 will make the playoffs. You get one team out of the South. One of those teams will win that. So it's 5 spots. So there's 2 spots left. And you look, there's 2 wild card spots. And really, it's hard to find 2 teams to make the playoffs. It's hard to find. No, but Packers. I think I'm confident with the Packers. So really, there's 1 spot. There's really one spot because the Packers make the Packers make the playoffs. So there's really one spot, and it's hard, yeah. So it really would be between them, the Cardinals. Then even though the Niners lost a lot of guys, I think they do have a bounce back year. Even though they lost a lot of guys, the Niners. Then you look at maybe one of the loser of the South, the Falcons or the Bucks. Even you wouldn't be shocked. And the Bears too.
Yeah,
You wouldn't be completely shocked if it's Dallas because it's Dak. Even though that's pretty much their ceiling. That would be their ceiling with their coach and what they've done in free agency. So I think they'll be close, like they've been the last couple of years. But I think they miss out. And I think the biggest reason why they miss out is the DK Metcalf trade. I think they should have. They got good value for Metcalf, but I think should have. I think that they traded him. He's their best as a player.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been a big target for him the last couple of years, and yeah, he's been their true number one guy. And I know coming out, they wanted Jackson Smith, the Nick Bud. Now they're kind of hoping that he takes that next step, but I know totally hasn't been able to step up and be that guy. But now there's going to be a lot on his shoulders next year. Now more than likely they probably draft a guy. Maybe they make a trade for somebody, bring somebody in to be a number two, or so maybe there's that. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure now on Smith and Jigba to make some big plays for this offense, and he's going to get a ton of targets now and next year. And yeah, Darnold had a good year, but again, those final two games, it's tough to kind of get out of your head how it ended in Minnesota, where now if they can scheme some stuff up, get the ball out quickly for him, it definitely will help him out. But it is really tough to get those last two games from Minnesota. Just the way how it ended, how ugly it was.
Yeah, it is tough. It is tough. Now, he was the best quarterback out there. He had the best season of any guy that was out there. But still, he needs a really, really good team around him, to compete for a championship. And last year, he won 14 games with a really good team around him. But when it mattered, against the Lions and in the playoff game against the Rams, I mean, he was a combined 0-5, or it was 0-4 against the Rams and the Lions. The teams you got to beat to play more games to win a championship. So. Yeah, I think it's a decent signing for Seattle. I think it could solve their quarterback. It kind of solves their quarterback issue. It kind of solves their quarterback issue because an upgrade over Geno, and now they could kind of build the team around. They could build the team around him. But right now I don't see in these 3-year stretch. Him winning a Super Bowl, and I don't think right with the Seahawks. And right now, I don't see the Seahawks as a playoff team. Even though I was a Sam Darnold fan coming out, those last two games, yeah, they stick in my head too. He's got to prove he can get it in the playoffs before we really consider him a top 15 quarterback in the league. I think he's a top 20, just like Rodgers, he's a top 20 quarterback. I think he had a better year than Rodgers and Wilson, but until he can win the playoffs, I can't consider him a top 15 quarterback until he can win in the playoffs.
No, I agree. And yeah, last year really what's huge for his career. The way he kind of bounced back, the way he kind of showed that hey, he could be a franchise guy for somebody. Yeah, it was the perfect pieces around him. And now we're gonna kind of find out that he's got this big deal now. Does he turn back to the quarterback? Maybe not as bad as he was in New York, but is there like a semblance, or can he bounce? Can he kind of continue the year he had in Minnesota there? May not put up the numbers exactly like he did in Minnesota, but can he get to see in the playoffs, put up some good numbers, win it, have a 2-minute drive to go down and win the game, once or twice next year. So yeah, it's tough, but he did show you flashes that he could be the guy last year, be a franchise guy. So yeah, now he's got to kind of live up to it, and we'll see if he'll be able to do it.
Yeah, we'll see. Now we'll go from Darnold's current team to his now we'll go to Darnold's former team, and that is the Jets, and they signed Justin Fields to a 2-year, $40 million deal. And I think this is kind of low risk, high reward. If it works, and he is back with Garrett Wilson, great. But what a lot of people are thinking that it's probably not going to work. This is kind of a bridge guy for the Jets until they get their franchise guy. But it looks like in the draft, the Jets are pretty much too far back at 7 to really, trade up, and they really shouldn't. They're seeing that they have a new GM and a new head coach. I think this is they're showing patience. This is going to be a rebuilding year for the Jets. They bring in a guy like Justin Fields to say, hey, if he is really good and we get to the playoffs with him, all right, maybe we keep him for that second year and keep building our team. But if we go 4-13, then we pick high enough to get a quarterback. So low risk, could be low risk, high reward situation for the Jets. We'll see what happens. But in my opinion, this is a bridge guy for the Jets to get their franchise guy, because I don't think the Jets are going to be very good this year.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's definitely something where maybe the Jets finally for the first time in a long time hit something with a quarterback, and and he plays pretty well, but yeah, I think more than likely it's probably he's I know it's 2 years, but I wouldn't be shocked if this year goes poorly. They sign somebody, or I mean they draft somebody, and maybe he's a backup, they get rid of him, whatever. But yeah, I hope he's a great runner. You're probably gonna need that because that offensive line is not great at the current moment. So he's a good scrambler. He can get out of the pocket and maybe make some plays with legs, and maybe that helps out the running game a little bit because you can run some option stuff with him, and you do have to obviously kind of count for him in that. So maybe that helps. But yeah, it's definitely a low risk, a high reward, low risk type of decision there with the Jets.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens there. But we'll move on to Daniel Jones. Yesterday, he signed with the Colts, and Chris Ballard said it. He said it at the Combine. We are going to bring in competition for Anthony Richardson, and this is absolutely competition for Anthony Richardson because Daniel Jones, and we as Giant fans, we would know better than anyone, he's not a terrible quarterback. He's an average quarterback. He's an average quarterback that had one really good season where they won a playoff game, had trouble staying healthy. And he played, let's be honest, he played in a bad organization. Yes, he turned the ball over a lot. I get it. He wasn't the greatest quarterback in the line of scrimmage. I get it. But he's still athletic, and I think it's going to be competition here. It's going to be a competition. Now, this might help Anthony Richardson because this could fuel him. This could fuel him to sit and to know, all right, someone's here to take my job. I got to step it up. And yes, after he got benched, I don't think he was terrible. He had that come from behind win against the Jets. He had that come from behind win against the Patriots. But he just hasn't been what he has expected him to be. And now I think this is competition here. This is competition. I think this could eventually help Anthony Richardson. But here's the thing for Anthony Richardson. If you start the way you did last year, you are going to be benched. Daniel Jones is going to be the quarterback because Chris Ballard's job is on the line and Shane Steichen's job is on the line. Those guys' jobs are on the line. If the Colts aren't a playoff team this year, those two guys are going to be fired, especially Chris Ballard. Chris Ballard, they've been to the playoffs 2 times in the 8 years he's been the GM, and they've never won the division. If they don't get into the postseason this year, Chris Ballard is fired. So if Anthony Richardson starts poorly, there's a very good chance Daniel Jones is going to be the starting quarterback of this team.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And yeah, if Daniel Jones is a week 1 starter, then that tells you, that's not a great sign for Anthony Richardson and that draft pick because it's good competition for him. But I think Richardson, if the ceiling is what he is, he should be able to beat out Daniel Jones. But yeah, like last year was kind of rocky with him, pulling himself out of the one of the games this year, and there's been a lot of ups and downs with Richardson. There's been some, but that's kind of what he was in college. There's a lot of high moments, but there's also a lot of kind of bad moments as well. So there's a lot with that. But yeah, Daniel Jones is good competition to bring in, and again, Richardson better beat him out, or there's going to be a lot of alarm bells going off.
Oh yeah. Here's the thing, though. This is crazy, but Daniel Jones could actually, if he could lead this Colts team to a division title. Here's why: the Colts have some talent on offense with Alex Pierce, Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor. Got some talent, decent offensive line, even though they lost a couple pieces on the offensive line. Defense got better. They went out and got Cameron Byam. They went out and got Tre'Davious Ward. So the defense got better. And Houston made the most head-scratching move of the entire offseason, and we'll get to that, trading Laramie Tunsil. So, and their offensive line is terrible. So there is a chance. Let's be honest. There is a chance. If Daniel Jones could lead the Colts to a division title. But if he fuels Anthony Richardson, there's an even better chance he could lead the Colts to a division title. But it's a year where the Colts have to be good. Or like I said, GM and head coach are gone.
Yeah, absolutely. It felt like maybe at the end of last year, the way things were heading.
After they lost that Giants game, they gave up 45 points. Now you know why they went out and got some pieces on their secondary because Malik Neighbors were running running all through their secondary all day long against them in Week 17.
Yeah. You don't have to remind me. They lost me Survivor Pool in that one, that close one. So I've not forgotten that game. So they really needed some upgrades in that secondary because Drew Lock was Drew Lock, had an awesome game against them. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure, and I don't disagree either because the Texans last year weren't. They gave up what 58 sacks. I think Texans did last year. Their offensive line's more shambles right now. The Titans are probably going to be one of the worst teams in football. Jacksonville's not going to be much better. So yeah, there's a case where Colts go 9-8. They find a way to win that division. So I don't disagree because they do have some pieces in that offense, and they did show at times last year that they can put up points. So yeah, I don't disagree either. But yeah, depending on what Houston does the rest of the offseason, wouldn't be shocked if they find themselves winning that AFC South title.
It could either go really good for the Colts. It could be like maybe 10-7 win the division, or it could go bad. They can go 6-11 or 5-12, and Shane Steichen and Chris Paul would be fine. They're an interesting team going into next year. But we got to move on to the Rams, and on Sunday they signed Davante Adams 2 years, $46 million. The big question: look, Rams, Stafford's back, got Puka, got Kyron Williams. You got Davante Adams. There's some really good pieces on offense. Defensive line is really, really good with Fisk, with Jared Verse, with Byron Young. The big question is are the Rams the best team in the NFC right now? We saw how close they were to beat the Eagles last year. Are they the best team in the NFC right now? And I think they're definitely the best team in their division. Seeing what's happened with the 49ers, I think they're the best team in their division. I'm going to say no to them being the best team in the NFC. I still don't think they're as good as the Eagles or Lions because I still think if the Lions and Eagles play them, I still think they're going to run the ball all over them. Fisk has got to get better against the run. And to me, until they get better against the run on defense, I'm going to say no. And Stafford is still good, but it's tough to trust. You can't bank on a 37-year-old quarterback to have a good season. He could fall off. So I'm going to say no. I think they're close, but I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no to them being the best team in the NFC. But this is a really good pickup, and they definitely are contenders in the NFC because of this pickup.
Yeah, definitely. I put them third there too. Very close with the Lions. Stafford has looked good, and keeping him is huge. And yeah, Adams and Puka. It's a really, really good two really good top wide receivers that you got to kind of keep your eye on. Every week. So I do like kind of the Rams teams. You can never count out Sean McVay. Their defensive line last year, the way they kind of built that after losing Aaron Donald was phenomenal. So I do like this Rams team, but they're definitely right now clearly the best team in their division. But yeah, still a little bit more to go to catch the Lions of the Eagles be the top team in that conference.
Yeah, and the command. I put the Commanders could be close too. We'll answer that question later about the Commanders and the Eagles. We'll answer that question. I'll put the Commanders in there too. I mean, but yeah, I think they got to prove they can stop the run, but they definitely are contenders. They definitely are contenders with this move. I'll definitely give them that. But now we'll move on to Cooper Kupp, who it looks like the Rams are going to release. They couldn't get any trade value for him, so it looks like they're going to release. And the question really with Cooper Kupp is what's going to be his next team? Who is going to be his next team? Your Patriots are definitely a candidate. I think the Chargers will be a candidate. You know where I think he's going to land? I think he's going to land in Denver. I really like Denver's offseason. We'll get to that with our winners and losers. I'll talk more about that with our winners and losers of the NFL offseason. But I like him going to Denver. I think he's another receiver for Bo Nix. He'll pair him with Cortland Sutton. I got him going. I got him going to Denver. I think that that'll be a good fit for him. Denver's been aggressive this offseason. I got him going there. I got him going there. I think that would be a good pickup there. Justin, where you got Cooper? Where do you think Cooper Kupp is going to go?
I got him going to coming to New England. I think
of course you do. Of course you got him going to New England.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Hey, they've been willing to overspend. I know they tried with Chris Godwin, they didn't get him. They spent a lot of money. They had a solid couple of days here, so I think they're really. I know they got Hollins from Buffalo, who's not bad, but he's clearly not a number one guy.
He's not even a number two, Hollins. He's a number three.
No, it's better than what we have going up and down our depth chart.
Let's be honest, it's not saying much.
No, it's not. So it's a little bit of an upgrade at the wide receiver position, but now we need that true number one. I think Cooper Kupp had over 100 yards when he played Foxborough this year. He kind of would fit in that, I think fit in with his offense here and finally give Drake May number one. So they've been willing to still overspend here. I think they'd be willing to do it here for Cooper Kupp to get that true number one because at this point, I think they're going offensive lineman at 4. Now they kind of need that number one wide receiver, and the one still on the board there is Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I wouldn't be very surprised at all. Yeah, because the Patriots, they missed out on DK Metcalf. They missed out on Chris. Now, they offer Chris Godwin. I'm not going to give them as much criticism for Godwin.
Yeah.
I'll give them a lot more criticism for Metcalf because Metcalf, we'll talk when we talk about the Patriots, we'll get to that. That was a better two. They have a better two than the Steelers do. I mean, it's so I'll give them credit. They should have been in on that. They definitely should have been in on that. But yeah, I definitely see them going to the Patriots because the Patriots got a major hole at receiver. They've done a pretty good job in free agency so far. So yeah, I could see him. I could see him going there. I definitely can see Cooper Kupp going there. I just think the Broncos, because they've been very aggressive, and I think they continue to be aggressive. They continue to improve the team. And I think if it comes down to between the Broncos and the Patriots, I think he's going to choose the Broncos. So you have a proven. I know Drake May is good, but he hasn't proven. I don't feel like he hasn't proven to be a franchise guy as much as Bo Nix is, and obviously you got Sean Payton. So I think if it comes down between the two, I think he goes to the Broncos.
Yeah, I could see it. I think Drake May is showing he's a franchise guy. That team was awful last year, and he did it. You know, they he won them some games. I know Bo Nix looked a lot better than everybody thought he was going to be. And I could see it. Now, I think the one thing I don't know because Cooper played at Eastern Washington. I think he's from Washington, so if you want to stay close to home too, that could be a selling point for him. Colorado, obviously, then Foxborough, Mass. So that could be another selling point for him to stay closer to home. But I think the Patriots will give him the money they have to, and I think they'll be willing to spend to go get that number one because I think they kind of know how crucial that is. And unless they trade back, but I'm just for all the wide receiver draft picks we've had over the years, I don't trust this organization to draft and wide. I know it's different people, but I just don't don't trust them to draft a wide receiver. So I'd rather sign or trade for my number one wide receiver. So I'm hoping they desperately do that instead of trying to get a McMillan and hope that he's a number one. We already kind of know that Cooper Kupp is.
Yeah. I think so. I think that you probably this would be the best. The Patriots really, I think it would be smart for them to sign Cooper Kupp. I think it'd be disappointing if they miss out on Cooper Kupp. But we will get to the Patriots a little bit later. We got to stay in the NFC and talk about the Commanders and their trade for Laramie Tunzel. And first, we're even talking about the Commanders. What the hell are the Houston Texans doing? Nick, this is a terrible move this is the worst move of the offseason by Nick Caserio. You have your offensive line is your weakness, and then you trade your best offensive lineman? That makes no sense at all. That makes absolutely no sense. I mean, right now, I don't think the Texans are close to the top three teams. They've gotten worse. They've fallen behind the top three teams. It's amazing. And you thought at this point the Texans would be on par with the Bills. They'd be on par with the Ravens. They'd be on par with the Chiefs. They're not close to those teams because their offensive line is terrible. It's terrible. I know the quarterback didn't take the next step last year, but you're not helping him take the next step by making this trade. This trade is awful. This trade is pathetic. And I'm telling you, if they don't win the division, Nick Caserio should be fired. This is embarrassing. You don't trade away a top offensive line, one of the most important positions on the field, for a third-round pick. This is embarrassing. What terrible trade by the Texans. But for the Commanders, I think this is great. I think what they've done on offense this offseason has been phenomenal. Adding Deebo Samuel, adding Laramie Tunzel. And the big question for them, though, is are they the best team? Have they passed the Eagles? I know we probably answered the question because we said the top two teams were we probably answered the question early on. We talked about the Rams. We said the top two teams were the Eagles and Lions. But maybe we changed our minds in 10 minutes. Have the Commanders pass the Eagles? Have the Commanders pass the Eagles as the best team in the NFC East? Have they passed them out? And I'm still going to say no because of their defense. I think the Eagles are clearly better defensively. We saw last year, in every game, even the game that the Commanders won, the Eagles Saquon had a big game against them. So I'm going to say no. I mean, the NFC Championship game, they ran the ball down their throat. So I'm still going to say no. I think it's closer. I think it might get all the way to week 18. It might be decided in week 18, seeing the players the Eagles lost. I think it's closer, but I'm still going to go with the Eagles as the best team in the NFC East. Justin, your thoughts on the Tunzel trade, and are the Commanders better than the Eagles right now?
Yeah, that Tunzel trade made no sense. That kind of was eerily similar to Bill trading Shaq Mason to Tampa Bay. I know we only got a fifth for that, but that was another one. It was like,
That's why Bill Belichick's no longer in the NFL because of some of those decisions.
Yeah, that's why the GM side of Bill Belichick is not around
That's why
anymore.
there was a documentary made about him, not in the most positive way.
Yeah, no, that was still I get the GM side, but the coaching side that they did him dirty with that. I know the guys did him dirty there, but I like it for Washington. Another guy, I know Tunsil's had a ton of problems with the false starts, but like other than that, he's been a really good offensive lineman throughout his career. It helps getting another veteran guy in there for Daniels to anchor that offensive line. But yeah, with the Texans, it makes utterly no sense. And yeah, you lost a couple of starters now, and you're off at the line, and you gave up 58 sacks last year. It doesn't look good, and yeah, there's a lot of I don't really understand what they're doing here. Yeah, they've kind of taken many steps backwards, since a year and a half ago, where hey, they got the playoffs and they look like they could contend with the Chiefs, and they're nowhere near that mark where they were just pretty much almost a year ago. So it's pretty head scratching to see what's happened in the last pretty much the last calendar year here with the Texans.
Yeah, it's very head scratching, and for the Commanders, that puts them in position, to compete, to be right there with the Eagles in the NFC East. And speaking of the Eagles have lost some players. Now we knew they were going to lose Sweat because of their cap situation. We knew they were going to lose Sweat. We knew they were going to lose Milton Williams. We knew they were going to let those guys walk. And Slade, they released him, but that was their third best corner last year. The one that kind of surprised me though was trading C.J. Gardner-Johnson. That's what surprised me. C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade, that surprised me. And maybe they want to get Green as a guard to come in because they're probably going to lose Becton. So that trade kind of surprised me there. But the big question is, with the losses, are they still the favorite to win the NFC? And to me, it's so close between them and the Lions. It's so close between them and the Lions. And I know the Lions will be better because they signed DJ Reed and Aiden Hutchinson will be back. So I think their roster might be a little bit better than the Eagles. And the quarterback play, it hurts the slight edge over Jared Goff. I think the difference is going to be just what I said. The quarterback play, the quarterback's a little bit better with the Eagles. And I'm going to say the coaching. I'm going to say the coaching is a little bit better with the Eagles because Vic Fangio's not going anywhere, and the Eagles kind of promoted from within with the offensive coordinator. I know the Lions promoted from within, but Ben Johnson, I think that's going to be a loss. Aaron Glenn, that's going to be a loss. Losing those two coordinators is going to be a loss. I hate to say it, I'm still going to give the Eagles the slight edge in the NFC over the Lions. I'm still going to say the Eagles are the favorite, even with the loss they had, because I trust that Howie Roseman is going to fill these holes the way he did after he did in 2022 when he lost. When he lost T.J. Edwards, filled the hole with Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond in free agency. When he lost, Jerron Hargrave, filled the hole. He filled the hole with Jalen Carter. So Howie Roseman is so good at filling these holes. He's the best GM in football. I gotta just give him I gotta give the Eagles the slight edge over the Lions right
now. No, I agree. I trust the Eagles organization, to draft. And Roseman always makes a move or two in the first night of draft, it feels like. So if he really likes somebody, he'll try to find a way to trade up to go get them. So yeah, I do like the Eagles still. That's a little bit more than Detroit. Losing the two coordinators to Detroit kind of hurts a little bit as well because those two were, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson did such a great job there. I do trust in Dan Campbell to kind of figure out two new guys. But Sirianni, we've talked about it kind of just being a CEO type, and with Vic Fangio still being there with the defense and the upgrades he made, and I think the Eagles will kind of figure it out. They always, you mentioned it, they always fill the holes that they have needs in. They'll figure it out. So I still do trust the Eagles to do that and fill the holes that they need. So I do have them right now still a little bit ahead of Detroit in the conference.
Yeah, but it's gonna be very close between those two. I think it'll be very close. And Washington's in the conversation. The Rams are in the conversation. Really, those four teams. I know they all made it to the conference, to the divisional round last year, but they've all. The Eagles, I know they haven't gotten better, but they're the defending champs. The Lions, they've gotten better. The Rams got better, and the Commanders got better. So those four teams, to me, are in the conversation. And the Packers, you could put in the mix. They got a good roster and a good quarterback and a good coach. The Packers, and you can put in that mix too. Even Tampa, maybe, but I don't trust the head coach. Atlanta, young quarterback, but I think those five teams, Packers, Rams, Lions, Eagles, Commanders, you could put in that mix for the top team in the NFC. But we can't go talking about free agency without talking about the Patriots, because they had the most cap space and they're a local team. It was a huge offseason for the Patriots. And I think they did a good job. I don't say great job. I'd say they did a great job if they landed DK Metcalf. I would say they did a great job if they landed DK Metcalf or got a receiver in there. They didn't get a receiver, so I can't say they did a great job. But I think they did a good job. I think Harold Landry, they bring in a guy who played with Vrabel, so he's going to help the guy. He's going to be a leader in that locker room. He's going to get guys to trust that system. trust that system. Trust Mike Vrabel's system. Trust Mike. He's going to get those guys to trust Mike Vrabel. I really like the Harold Landry move. I like it. He's a good edge rusher, Harold Landry. I like the Harold Landry move. I know they overpaid for him, but I like Milton Williams. I know he struggles against the run and played about 50% of the snaps in Philly, but I think Vrabel's going to get even more out of him, and I think he's going to be a better run player. I think Mike Vrabel's going to make Milton Williams better. I do like the Milton Williams signing. I really like that signing. I like the Morgan Moses signing. I think they needed he's a veteran. He could be a leader, another leader in that locker room, a veteran tackle. Not a great player, but a decent player. But it's definitely better than what the Patriots had at tackle. He'll play right. He's going to be their starting right tackle. So I like the Morgan Moses move. And I like Robert Spillane too. Really, really good run defender. Let me tell you, seeing the Patriots last year, they need guys that can stop the run. They definitely need guys that can stop the run, and Robert Spillane could do that. And then Carlton Davis, again, they had to pay the suck tax on him because, when you suck, you got to overpay for guys. They had to pay the suck tax on Carlton Davis. I don't mind that move with him being the number 2 corner as well to Christian Gonzalez. So I would say if I had to grade the Patriots free agency, I would say B+. I'd give them a B+. I would have given them an A- or an A if they would have gotten a receiver, but I'm going to give them a B+ in free agency. Justin, your thoughts on your team's free agency so far?
Yeah, I thought it was really solid. I'm with you. The one spot that they missed on was the wide receiver, but everything else, like Carlton Davis, Christian Gonzalez, they're gonna have one of the better kind of two cornerbacks in the league. And Gonzalez is right up there, one of the top guys. Davis comes in as well. Milton Williams at the D tackle spot, I'm excited about. Morgan Moses, I know he's older. He's banged up a lot too, but if he could stay healthy, I like, again, he can't be any worse than Lowe or I don't even remember the other guy that was the starting tackle this year. Leighton Robinson, he can't be worse than those two guys. So that's gotta be an upgrade. So yeah, and then I imagine now that they're going left tackle in the draft, either Will Campbell or Calvin Makes at 4. I just think that's where we're going, and that's gonna help that left tackle situation, hopefully. But I like that I think they spent the money well. I think they spent it on good players here. So, and Williams, and hopefully if Christian Barmore can be healthy this year, I know he wasn't great in the few games he played, but him and Milton Williams inside, with Landry, I think it's gonna be really, really good. And to be that defense, it kind of feels like they're getting back. This is the old Patriots defenses that we've seen for under Bill Belichick there. So I'm excited for this defense. And now it's kind of, let's get that wide receiver now and really get going here. So yeah, I gave them an A-. So probably would have been an A+ if they got the wide receiver.
Here's the big question. Are the Pats a playoff team with the moves they made? I'm going to say no. I think they're going to be in contention for the playoffs. I think it's 7 or 8 wins. I think they're definitely better than the Jets. I think they've surpassed the Jets in the AFC East with the moves. I know they have to prove it on the field because the Jets have beaten them. They have been better than them the last 2 years. So they have to prove it on the field. But I do think with the moves they made, I think they're going to be better than the Jets. I still don't think they're going to be better than the Dolphins. But if they get a receiver, it's a conversation that they might be as good or better than the Dolphins. I think they're going to be competing for that last spot. But I see 7-10, 8-9 this year, which is an improvement from definitely an improvement for what they've been the last 2 years. I'm saying 7-9, 8-10, even if they 7-10, 8-9, even if they get Cooper Kupp, they're still going to have a very shaky offensive line. Cooper Kupp right now, he's good, but he's not great. So, and the Dolphins, I don't care if the Patriots get Cooper Kupp, they'll still be better at receiver with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Their offense is still going to be better. Now the Patriots might have a better defense, but Tua has played really, really well against the Patriots. Now, you can take it with a grain of salt because this is a new regime. That was the post Brady Belichick years where he owned the Patriots. This is kind of a new regime, but I'd say right now they're about a 7-8 win team, the third best team in the AFC East, but they're definitely on the right track.
Yeah, I'm gonna say they are. I'm gonna be drinking the tea here, and they get the NFC South they get, so there could be 3 wins right there. They do host Vegas, which that should be a win.
Go with the schedule.
Yeah, I like the schedule.
One of the other games you're confident in. One of the other home games you're confident in.
Oh yeah, the Giants. I would hope that's a win. So they beat Cincinnati last year. That's early in September, maybe.
You never know with Cincinnati though. Cincinnati's defense is terrible.
Yeah, so Drake May plays well that day. I'll trust our defense. They got Cleveland at home. You can beat the Steelers at home. That's a winnable game. And it's tough to think with Buffalo because they played them the final 3 weeks of the year twice. So it's like Buffalo was pretty much clinched by then. They played well against them, but like it was so late in the year. But Baltimore on the road to be tough. I think the city could win 9-10 games next year because variable 2 is going to get you a win or two. And I am confident they get the wide receiver, that they get, a Will Campbell or Calvin Banks, and they slot him in at left tackle, and he plays, and one of them play well. I think our defense is going to win us a lot of games next year, and I think Drake May takes that next step now with McDaniels and Mike Vrabel in command now, and I'm going to drink the tea that this team's going to win 9-10 games next year.
Wow, you got this. So you probably have them in second in the division. I'm assuming you're ahead of Miami.
I can't trust Miami, and then the Tua is always a question with the injuries, of course. The way things ended, the Tyreek saga, I can't trust McDaniels as McDaniels as a head coach. I don't. I'm just out on him, and the way I assume you saw the way that like the guys wanted Vic Fangio out, like that's just
I know. And then he wins the Super Bowl. Super Bowl.
Yeah, so like stuff like that. I'm kind of out on Miami, so I think we could pass Miami. I know they've beaten us a lot lately, but you mentioned it's a new regime now, so it's a new day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not as high on them as you are. I think the offense definitely still needs work, but I think with this defense, with this coaching, I don't think they'll be. No, I don't. You think they're a playoff team? I don't, but I do think they're going to be in the mix. Week 17, week 18, fighting for that spot. I think they'll be fighting. They'll be back fighting for that playoff spot. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Patriots going forward. Should a lot of optimism in Foxborough seeing the offseason they've had so far. And speaking of offseason, we're going to do our winners and losers, not just of the free agency period, but of the NFL offseason. And I'm going to start with my winners. And one of my winners is the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos getting Dre Greenlaw, getting Tua Huifunga, really built, making a defense that was already really good last year even better. The offense year 2 with Bo Nix and Sean Payton should improve. So to me, the Broncos, they're one of my winners of the offseason. Number two, I'm gonna go with your Patriots. I like some of your moves the Patriots made. I really like the moves they made. I really think some of the moves they made were good. I mean, as we talked about, getting Harold Landry, getting Milton Williams, Robert Spillane will help against the run. Carlton Davis will add corner depth. So I really like the moves the Patriots made. So to me, they definitely are one of my winners of the offseason. Number 3, I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders. I like, getting Deebo Samuel, getting Laramie Tunsil. I think it wasn't as much in the free agency market with them as it was with wasn't as much in free agency as it was with, the aggressiveness of Adam Peters. I think Adam Peters was very aggressive this offseason. I really like the aggressiveness of him. So I definitely will have the Commanders as one of my winners in free agency. So I definitely have that. Another one of my winners is the Rams. I think the Rams I like the fact they went out and got Devontae Adams and they got Matthew Stafford. They restructured Matthew Stafford's contract to put them in position. How close they were last year to the Eagles, to put them in position to go all in to win another Super Bowl with Sean McVay. So I think the Rams signing Devontae Adams, I think that they're one of my winners. And my last winner is the Minnesota Vikings. I know they let Sam Darnold walk, but I think they were able to sign some people because of that. And I said it last week. You can't have a guy making $35 to $40 million to sit on your bench, or have a first round pick sit on your bench. You committed to JJ McCarthy last year. I think you got to go with JJ McCarthy. And I think they've done a good job with the offensive line, getting Ryan Kelly, getting Will Fries. I know those are not great players, but they're decent players. And they're going to get Christian Darrisaw back at left tackle, so their offensive line will be good. They re-signed Aaron Jones, so we'll have a running game. They got receivers with Addison and Jefferson. So and then they brought Byron Murphy back on defense too. So my 5 winners are the Vikings, the Patriots, the Commanders, the Broncos, and the Rams. Those are my 5 winners in this offseason. Justin, who are your winners of the offseason?
Mine, I'll start with the Bears. I thought they had an awesome
Bears were my honorable mention. Bears were right there for me because of their offensive line.
Yeah, I think that was such a huge need for him, and I think they did a really good job of doing that and bringing Jonah Jackson, Joe Tooney, um, Grady Jarrett on the defense side of the ball. And then I thought too, the re-signings too of Ahmad, I can't pronounce his last name, and getting another edge rusher as well, like at another spot where I thought they needed, another hole that they had. So I thought the Bears have had an awesome offseason so far. My second one was the Patriots as well. I won't ramble on too long because I know I've already did that, but I again they spent the money. I think they spent the money right this time, not like they did 4 or 5 years ago. I think this defense on paper looks a lot better now, and I'm real excited to see kind of the defenses, and now we'll see kind of where they go with the draft. My third one here was with the Washington Commanders. With the two trades that they made. What was huge, bringing Deebo Samuel, Larry Tunsil to help out that offensive line. Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, re-signing two kind of veteran guys that I think are really good in that locker room. But again, so bringing in Kinlaw too to help out the defense and Will Harris because I know they lost Jeremy Chin, but I really liked how Washington did. I know they're probably still fourth in that conference, but again, I think Washington did fill some holes here. Fourth for me was the LA Rams. Again, they were able to keep Matthew Stafford. They got Devontae Adams to come in. They re-signed Tutu Atwell, who's been decent for them. I know they lost Jackson on the offensive line, or they re-signed Jackson there on the offensive line. I really like what LA did, and again, they're going to be right there, sitting pretty with the Eagles, trying to go at them there and trying to compete with the Eagles there. And then my number 5, I actually went with the Raiders. I don't mind Geno.
Interesting.
I
Interesting
know,
there. Interesting.
yeah, I know Geno. I know my brother, their dad was kind of doesn't think it's a huge upgrade because they're not a quarterback away, but it's better than what they had. The offensive line still needs some work there, but they did re-sign Max Crosby, which is huge. Drink Chen coming in. Um, I do think, I think, they're obviously, I think they're in a better position now that they were. They're probably still fourth in that division. But I like, Roberts bringing him in, Eric Stokes. Like, I do think they tried to fill some holes there. Now for them, I think the big thing is to get some more off the line help for Geno Smith. But so my 5 winners are the Raiders, the Rams, the Patriots, Bears, and the Commanders.
Now going to our losers of free agency, and I'll start. And number 1 has got to be the 49ers. It's got to be the 49ers. Trading Deebo Samuel, then losing Drake Greenlaw and Tua Huifunga. They lost 2 offensive linemen. The 2 starting offensive linemen. Then they lose Leonard Floyd. So they pretty much have lost like 6 or 7 starters in free agency. So the 49ers, to me, and a lot of talk about them landing Joey Bosa. They couldn't even do that. Bosa went to the Bills. So I know this obviously means a big extension's coming for Brock Purdy, where he's probably going to, let's be honest, it could be $60 million. It could be over. He might reset the market. Seeing what the 49ers are doing right now, I wouldn't be shocked if Brock Purdy resets the market, which, to be honest, that's a tough way to compete with the Rams this year in the NFC West. It really is. So I was confident the Niners will bounce. We were going to have a bounce back year. I think they'll be better than 6-11, but I wouldn't be surprised if they miss the playoffs again. And they've had the worst offseason to me of any team, seeing all the starters that they've lost. And pretty much the reason they're losing all these starters is so they could, pay their quarterback. And Brock Purdy to me is a good quarterback, but with, we saw last year with all the injuries, the Niners had, he was not as effective as he was the previous 2 years. So to me, the Niners are definitely probably the number 1 loser of the offseason. And I'm ranking these probably from 1 to 4. Probably I pick 4 teams, so I'm ranking from 1 to 4. Number 2 for me, the Houston Texans. I know you traded for C.J. Gardner-Johnson, but the fact you traded your best left tackle, I said it earlier, is terrible. It's terrible. You have to be number 2 on that list. Is absolutely terrible, the Houston Texans, for trading Laramie Tunsil. You have to be on the list if you make a trade like that. Your biggest weakness is your offensive line. You trade your best offensive lineman. It makes 0 sense at all. It's the most head-scratching move of the offseason. That's why the Texans are one of my losers. Number 3, this is not a surprise at all, the Dallas Cowboys. What a surprise. They free up all this cap space, and guess what moves they make? They signed Javonte Williams for $3 million a year and Solomon Thomas for $4 million a year. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing how this franchise continued to ignore free agency. It's embarrassing. Thank God they've drafted as well as they have. They've been a really good drafting team. If not, Jerry Jones would already be replaced as a general manager because there would be so much talk about it. I mean, if this is your plan. This is your plan to compete with the Commanders and the Eagles in the division. All you're doing right now is building a team that could beat the Giants twice. That's all you're doing. That's the only thing you're doing right now. You're not competing with the Commanders and Eagles who played in the conference championship game, a game you haven't played in you haven't played it in 30 years, a game you haven't played in almost 30 years. You're trying to compete with them, and your moves are signing Javonte Williams, letting Rico Dabo walk, who had a better year than Javonte Williams last year, and bringing in Solomon Thomas. You're pretty much bringing back a team that missed the playoffs, and you're trying to compete with two of the top teams in the NFC in your division. It's so obvious that they're one of the losers this offseason so far. It is so obvious that they are. And then number 4, I'm going to go with the Bengals. Just because of the fact that they had a long with either Higgins or Chase. Duke Tobin said another team that the GM that the owner is the GM. So the Cowboys and Bengals, the way they not financially, the way they run their businesses is the same, but the way they structure their organization personnel wise is pretty much the same. They haven't given Chase a long term deal. To that, they haven't. Higgins is playing on the franchise tag, and Trey Henderson wants out. I think right now the way the Bengals are, even Joe Burrow, and it's crazy to say, with Joe Burrow, they're not a Super Bowl contender. And the way and it's because of the moves they've made so far this offseason. Because of the moves they made, not giving Chase an extension yet, and pretty much franchising Higgins, and now their best defensive player wants out. So the Bengals are one of my losers. So my 4 losers, I only can pick 4. Tough to pick 5 losers because you don't build a team through. You don't build an entire team through free agency. But my 4 losers in the offseason so far, pretty obvious: 49ers, Texans, Cowboys, Bengals. Justin, your losers of the offseason so far.
Yeah, I actually had the same 4 as you here, and I will start with the Niners as well here. Yeah, losing Deebo Samuels, Banks is gone now. Elijah Mitchell's going to Cincinnati. Yeah, I mean going to Kansas City. Leonard Floyd's gone too. Greenlaw's gone. Yeah, I agree with you that means a big contract coming Brock Purdy. Could that end up being the mistake that cost them? I think it could very easily. Especially if you reset the quarterback market here. I think that could be a big mistake for the Niners. So yeah, huge losers. The team too, yeah, you would think that there's going to be better injury luck with this group next year, but pretty unimpressive kind of couple of days or off season for them. Number 2 as well at Houston, just the trading away Larry Tunsil was just again was his head scratcher. I guess adding C.J. Gardner-Johnson's a nice piece of the cornerback, but again, then you lose another offensive lineman as well, Laken Thompson, or they brought in Laken Thompson.
Keon Green.
Keon Green with the guy that they lost there. So it's very head scratching. We've talked about Houston a couple times today, and it's very interesting to see what direction they're headed because it doesn't look like it's the right direction right now. Number 4 or number 3, I should say, for me was Dallas as well. Devontae Williams and Peyton Turner are just they're like very minimal moves. Like there's nothing that kind of propels them to leap over Washington or anything. So they're clearly still the 3rd best team in that division. I have not been impressed by them because they've moved around some cap space, but it doesn't seem to help them at all. And then lastly, as well here with the Bengals, to put Higgins on the franchise tag. We kind of talked about it last week with you want to spend all 3 of the money on Burrow, Higgins, and Chase. That's great, but that's almost about half your cap space. And I don't know how you're expected to build a football team, especially a championship Super Bowl contender football team with literally if 130 goes to 130 million of a 270 million cap or whatever goes to them. It's pretty tough to build a contender, especially in the AFC. So haven't been really impressed at all here by the Bengals as well. So those are my 4 losers.
Yeah, those 4 teams definitely are clearly the biggest losers in free agency. But before we wrap up the show, we got to talk about some breaking news from yesterday, and that's Garrett Cole. No, from Monday, Garrett Cole being out for the season for the Yankees. And the big question for the Yankees, and the big question for the Yankees right now is are they still the favorite to go to the World Series in the American League? And I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. I just think this is just too big of a loss for them to. And I know the American League is. If they were in the National League, I'd say no. The Yankees, they still have the best odds to go to the World Series, back to the World Series. They still are the favorite to go to the World Series. But I'm going to say no, and there's no surprise who I'm picking now to go to the World Series. That's the Houston Astros because I like them getting Paredes and Walker, and they still got Framer Valdez. And listen, this is probably this is not a great Astro team, but the American League is absolutely terrible. Is compared to the National League, it's absolutely terrible. I mean, the top 4 teams in the National League, the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Mets, and the Braves are head and shoulders to me better than anyone in the American League. I'll guarantee you this: there will not be a team in the American League that wins over 100 games. We'll be lucky to see a team in the American League win over 95 games. I don't think we'll get a team winning over 95 games this year in the American League. That's how bad the American League is. So I'm going to say no, but they still have a chance to win it, seeing how bad the American League is.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think I don't think they're the favorite anymore. I like the team that's also in Texas, but in Arlington, I like the Rangers. I know the bullpen's not great. Bruce Bochy, you can't count him out. And hey, Jacob deGrom right now is healthy. I like the lineup bringing in Jake Berger as well. I'm with you. You got no Cole now. You probably don't have Stan most of the year. It sounds like. They went from, and then now Louis Teal's probably out. They said it's a similar thing to Carl Schmidt's lap strain, and we didn't see Schmidt till September. So I don't think you're seeing Heel till probably August, September. So yeah, I'm not on this team, right? I just don't think I know you mentioned it. The American League's not great, but I don't see it. You're gonna need 6-7 runs you can line up every night. And who's protecting Judge right now? Because you got no Stanton. Who's that going to be? So yeah. I'm very concerned right now. I don't even think they win the American League East at this point.
And that was the next question. Do they win the AL East? And I actually still think they do, just because I like the pitching better than you do. I really like Max Fried. I like Schmidt. I like Rodon. We'll see what happens with Heel. I think Stroman could be potentially good. They got a good bullpen. They're getting Devin Williams. Yeah. They got a good bullpen. Now, the lineup's definitely not going to be as good, but still, Bellinger's a pretty good addition to that lineup. Stanton's going to be we'll see what happens with Stanton. But it's crazy to say it. I do, because the Orioles, they lost Burns and they lost Santander. I know Jackson Holliday will have a much better year this year. But they lost their ace, and their bullpen is very questionable. And the Red Sox, I do really love the Red Sox got a chance to win the division. I mean, with getting Crochet and Bregman, but the issue with them is the bullpen. I still question their bullpen. So I think it's gonna be close between the Sox, the O's, and the Yanks. But I do think the Yanks close it out in the AL East. But Justin, you disagree. Who do you like in the AL East?
I'm going with the Red Sox. I hate to say it.
I'm not surprised. They had a really good offseason.
Yeah, they did. They killed it. And, Alex Cora is going to win you a few games. Grayson Rodriguez isn't going to be, that was probably the number one for the O's going into it. Now he's banged up with shoulder, elbow. They don't, he might not come back till late April. Then you get, Boston, Casas, Alex Bregman in there. I know Story's already maybe banged up, Jalen Duran. But again, Crochet's looked really good so far in spring. I know it's spring training, but Crochet's looked really good. You got Houck. I know Bello may not be ready, but Walker Buehler pitched pretty well in the postseason last year. I know the bullpen's still an issue, but if a couple of those younger guys like Christian Campbell plays well, maybe I don't know if Roman Anthony's gonna get up here at some point this year, but some of the young guys the Red Sox have in the farm, if they step up when they get their opportunity, they play well. I could see Boston easily win this division.
Now, I'm not going to answer this because I think they're going to win the division. But here's the question for you, Justin: will the Yankees make the playoffs this year?
I think they get in, just because the American League is so weak.
Are they better than the Orioles? Do they finish in second or third in the division?
I think they finished third.
Oh, wow. I'm not surprised.
Yeah. I think if they get enough out of their pitching staff, they just have so many young. I just trust that Orioles lineup right now more than I do the Yankees. Like, Paul Goldschmidt is 36. I like Bellinger. That's a nice pickup, but I just like Dominguez is still. I hate to say it, Dominguez is still a question mark. Like I know we've seen a little sample, but like he's got to make a huge leap. Same thing with Volpe. Volpe can't be under 300 on base percentage. He needs to be like 340, 350. He needs a big step up with his bat. I know Austin Wells played pretty well at the catcher spot last year. I just, what's going to happen at third base? Like, who's going to be your starting third baseman on opening day? I just think there's some holes right now in that lineup that I'm still a little afraid of. And I just worry about not having protection for Judge right now. So I think they finished third at the moment because I have no idea when Stanton's going to come back. And I know he probably doesn't need a long rehab stint whenever he does because he's just DH every day, but it doesn't sound like he's going to come back sometime in the summer. And who knows, by then maybe it's too late.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll end up seeing what happens there. It should be interesting to see what happens with the Yankees. But that's going to wrap up this edition of Sports Talk with RJ. But we'll be back in about 10 minutes to talk about some college basketball and talk about UConn in the Big East tournament. So make sure you tune in for that.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.